AIM-listed Tower Resources has today updated the markets on its operations in Namibia. It says it has released data to a major international oil company. Jeremy Asher is Chief Executive and Chairman of Tower Resources, which also has interests in Cameroon. Jeremy, welcome back, first of all. We've heard from you before about the story about Tower Resources, but today's news is interesting. Initially, the stock was up around about 20% on this news this morning, involving possible major oil company. Explain more.
Well, our blocks in Namibia are cover a very large area, and they're one of the assets that we've recently signed a new petroleum agreement over, but we've had for a number of years. We've been involved in Namibia for more than a decade. When we signed the new petroleum agreement, we were not particularly in a rush to find partners for it, because we've got 4 years in the initial exploration period and there's plenty of work to be done. But we were approached by one of the majors earlier this summer, and the discussions have reached a point where we felt we have to disclose them. I can't say more about the discussions themselves at the moment, but I certainly can give you some understanding of why the majors are interested in Namibia and these blocks.
Yeah, what is it about Namibia? Because I know when this first came on the books, there was a great flurry of interest in the stock. 20p, I think the shares were at one point. But here we are now, languishing at near record lows. And what has changed in that period, and why would a major oil company be interested in this block in Namibia?
Namibia has been of interest for a while. The first gas discovery was made in Namibia decades ago, but then for quite a while there was a sense that perhaps there wasn't oil in Namibia, or at least it wasn't as prospective as, for example, Angola to the north. Things have changed in the last 10 years or so, particularly with a better understanding of the Atlantic margin and the discoveries in Brazil. And one of the results of that has been a resurgence of exploration over the last decade. Now, we were one of the first doing that, and we drilled a well with Repsol as operator in 2014, which was one of the first to test some of the giant structures that we have on our block. And that well was unsuccessful, as early exploration wells often are, but it nevertheless taught us a fair amount. The blocks that there's several different areas in Namibia along the coast, and if you have a look at the website, you'll see the maps and you'll see who has which blocks, and there are clusters of areas around the key basins. So even without a technical background, you can see what's happening. We're in the northern area, and we've got quite a lot of people, interesting people around us. Tullow to the south west just drilled a well, the Cormorant well, which had some wet gas shows, which are interesting, but they failed to find the migration path and the oil that they were looking for. Exxon are farmed in to the south and also to the north of us, and also just over the border in Angola. This is sort of a sexy area at the moment. But one of the reasons why our blocks are particularly interesting is that we've got a number of very large structures, both giant four-way dip closures and also large structures in the Dolphin Graben. And also there was a well drilled by Norsk Hydro more than 20 years ago, which had oil shows in it. And the great thing about that, obviously it's nice to see the oil shows, but what's more important is that by analysing the oil samples that we have from that and looking at the biomarkers, we can develop a sense of where that oil came from, and try to build a better model of where the oil's sourced from and migrated to. And that's the essence of finding oil in Namibia. That's what everyone's trying to do at the moment.
Remind us as well why you need to get a partner on this. What is the setup within the company that means you have to get someone on board with this?
Well, it's not essential. And as I say, the first exploration period is a 4-year period, which can be extended by a further year. There's plenty of time to do the work. But there's a lot of desk work to be done, in my opinion, before one goes off and starts acquiring new 3D. But the idea at this point is to acquire fresh 2D and or 3D to better understand these migration paths and to then choose the structure that makes most sense to drill next and do proper 3D on it before drilling. Now, this is not particularly expensive, but it's not cheap either. We're talking single-digit millions of dollars, but obviously we'll want to have a partner to join us and pay for that, just as we did last time round when we were working with first Arcadia and then Repsol in the previous decade. But the fact is that it's very welcome to have a major show interest now, and if they want to go ahead, we'd be delighted to cooperate with them, because a major oil company brings not just money, but they bring technology and a huge database and a lot of experience all around the Atlantic basin, which of course is very, very helpful in interpreting and understanding the data. And so of course we think that it's never too early to partner with somebody like that.
And of course in the interims you reminded us as to how strained perhaps possibly maybe the finances are of the need to raise cash you were talking about in a very frank release at the interims. You were talking then. In January you saw a placing, I think that was the last one. What are your thoughts on raising money? I mean, if either this agreement doesn't happen in the time scale you want it to happen in, or it doesn't happen at all, how do you go about raising money in a company where you've seen placings before, you've seen massive dilution, and you too are a shareholder, so you know the pain that investors are feeling. What do you say to them about raising money and how you're going about it?
Well, first of all, we don't need to raise money for Namibia or South Africa, or at least not material amounts. It's Cameroon that we need to raise money for, because there we have an appraisal well that we want to drill, and although we're hoping to get outside capital for the bulk of that, we do still need to keep the basic things that need to be done on track towards the well. So there's a site survey that needs to be done. We already have all the long lead items ordered, but they're sitting at a base in Douala, and we need to pay the bills for maintaining the base and so on. So to put it into perspective, we're not looking to place shares to fund the whole well, unless which is not the case at the moment, the valuation of the company in the market was such that that was the best thing for shareholders. But at the moment, obviously, it's external capital that we want to raise for that. However, you can't always make the timing of external funding from strategic partners or from debt providers or whatever meet your schedule. The fact is that anyone providing external capital like that has to have the timing work for them as well as for you, and they don't have to do a deal, so therefore you've got to accommodate other people's timing. Now sometimes things are moving along so fast that it falls into place. But this is not one of those times. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. Other companies also have to raise money or wait for money to arrive from asset sales or from production. So this is not a climate in which you can expect people just to sign a deal on your schedule. Now, unfortunately, when you're raising money as a pre-revenue company, you don't know just how long the runway that you need is. You can guess it, and you can guess it with a fair degree of accuracy, but you can't always predict it. And also, investors don't always want to subscribe to the full amount of the runway that you think might be needed. Just like if we were making a personal investment in something, we might say, well, I'll give you this much, and let's see how far that takes you, and give me a progress report, and then I'll decide if I'll give you more. And so unfortunately, you have to be prepared when you're pre-revenue to either, as a shareholder, put some more money in or be diluted. But at least you've got a choice in the matter. And for me, I've always, just accepted the fact that being part of a pre-revenue company, I have to follow my money, but we try and keep the amount that we ask for down to the minimum so that it's not too big a price to pay, and we try to do it in small tranches so that although that means we come back sometimes more often than people would like, it means that people get the opportunity to see whether we're making progress and therefore whether they want to put more money in.
One of the other things that's happening away from Namibia is what's going on in Cameroon. I think you've got this farm out discussions going on there. I think you call them substantial farm out discussions.
Yes.
How is the progress going there? What is the update for investors?
Well, operationally, things are going okay. I explained in the interim statement the problem that we need to get the site survey done. And I said in the interims I thought we could get that done in October or November, and I still think that's correct. Indeed, it's possible we could get the vessel there as early as this month. Now, this is not hugely expensive. This is nothing like drilling a well, but it's something we do need to do, and we want to do to keep the whole operational schedule on track so that there's something to farm into. The farm out, the rest of it is we have an LOI with COSL for the Seeker rig, and we've got some flexibility over the timing of that, which is important and helpful. The farm out itself, well, I think it's going to happen. We just have to be patient with the process and the people we're talking with. But there's no shortage of interest, no shortage of desire. What there is for a number of people a timing issue on when they can execute, and we've got to accommodate that.
Just one final question. What do you see as the next major thing occurring? Is it going to be news from Cameroon, or do you hope to get some more updates from this oil major that you have been asked to engage with at a data level?
Yeah, or indeed some news on South Africa, where we have this joint venture with New Age that has the license adjoining Total's Brulpadda license. One of the glorious things about this business is that it's full of surprises. What I would expect is that we've got plenty to be doing in Cameroon, so I'd like to think that we'll have further updates on Cameroon in the near future, and I'm sure that in respect of Namibia, we've got a bunch of work to do, and so I expect one shouldn't hear any more from us about that for a couple of months at least. But with South Africa, you never quite know, because we've got an active farm out process going there as well. So we'll just have to see what pops up.
Okay, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Jeremy, thanks indeed for joining us with an update there from Tower Resources after today's news in Namibia. That's Jeremy Asher, Chief Executive and Chairman of Tower Resources.